The laughter hit me like a slap I'd been expecting for years. Lauren leaned back in her chair, wineglass in hand, and said it loud enough for the entire table to hear. If Ryan introduced me to someone richer, I'd drop you in a heartbeat. Glasses clinked. Her friends erupted in laughter. Her brother Ryan slapped the table, roaring. Someone called her savage. I sat there with my arm still loosely around her waist, smiling like a man who hadn't just been reduced to a disposable placeholder in front of 12 people. The string lights above us glowed softly against the city skyline, but inside my chest, something went very still. That was the moment I stopped pretending. 2 years. That's how long we'd been together. 9 months of living in the apartment I mostly paid for, while she figured out her next chapter. I was 34, steady, the kind of man who showed up. I covered rent during her dry spells at the marketing job, listened to every complaint about bosses who didn't see her potential, and bit my tongue when she compared our life to the filtered perfection on her friends' Instagram feeds. I had told myself it was love. I had told myself patience was strength. Tonight was supposed to be a celebration. Ryan had flown in from Chicago, and Lauren had gathered her inner circle at Delphine, one of those upscale rooftop spots where overpriced cocktails and dramatic views made everyone feel important. The air smelled of grilled octopus and expensive perfume. Jazz played low. I had my arm around her, thinking the night was going fine. Then Ryan, a little buzzed, started bragging about one of his new investment partners. Guy's pulling 8 figures easy. You should meet him sometime, sis. Lauren didn't even pause. She laughed that bright, carrying laugh and dropped the line. The table exploded. Her best friend nearly choked on her martini. Oh my God, Lauren, you're terrible. Lauren shrugged with a playful grin and nudged me. What, I'm just being honest. He knows I'm kidding. I smiled. I raised my glass. I even chuckled along like a good sport, but inside my stomach had turned to stone. I had spent 2 years making myself smaller so she could feel bigger. Tonight, in front of everyone, she had casually announced the terms of our relationship. I was Plan B. Comfortable, replaceable the moment something shinier appeared. Her hand found my thigh under the table, a casual squeeze meant to reassure. I felt nothing but distance. The rest of dinner passed in a blur. I nodded when spoken to, laughed at the right moments, but something fundamental had already shifted inside me. The version of me who would have rushed to smooth things over later was gone. By the time we waited for the valet, Lauren was still chatting happily with her friends, replaying the joke and basking in the laughter. She looked beautiful under the city lights as always. But beauty had stopped being enough. On the drive home, the silence in the car felt heavier than usual. She scrolled through her phone, occasionally laughing at messages from the group chat. You were quiet tonight, she said finally. I kept my eyes on the road. Was I? She sighed. Don't be dramatic. It was just a joke. Everyone knows we're solid. I didn't answer. For the first time, I let her words hang there. The old me would have reassured her. The man I was becoming simply drove. When we walked into the apartment, the one I mostly furnished and paid for, Lauren kicked off her heels and headed to the kitchen. Want a nightcap? She called over her shoulder. I'm good, I replied, hanging up my jacket. She poured herself a glass of Pinot anyway and settled onto the couch. You've been weird since that joke. Seriously, Mike? It was banter. Ryan started it. I stood in the doorway, loosening my tie. It wasn't a joke to me. She rolled her eyes. Oh God, here we go. You're really going to make this a thing? I didn't raise my voice. I simply looked at her, the woman I had supported through career, doubts, family stress, and endless comparisons, and said nothing. The silence stretched between us. Lauren hated silence. You know I love you, she said, her tone softening into that coaxing voice she used when she wanted to fix things. I was just being honest in front of my friends. Brutal honesty is kind of my thing. You've always said you liked that about me. I almost laughed. Brutal honesty had become her favorite shield for cruelty. Instead, I walked to the bedroom, changed into sweats, and went through my nighttime routine with calm deliberation. When I returned, she was still on her phone. You're not even going to talk to me, she asked. I'm talked out, I said quietly. She stared at me, then shrugged. Fine. Be like that. She finished her wine and disappeared into the bathroom. I heard the shower start. I sat on the edge of the bed and let the evening replay in my mind every comparison, every subtle put down I had absorbed for 2 years. Something inside me clicked into place. Not with rage, just a quiet final decision. When she came to bed warm from the shower and reached for my arm, I didn't pull away. But I also didn't soften. Babe, don't go to bed mad. It was stupid dinner talk. You know I'd never actually leave you. I turned off the lamp. I'm not mad, I said. I'm clear. She frowned. Clear about what? Goodnight, Lauren. In the dark, I listened to her breathing eventually even out. For the first time in our relationship, I didn't lie awake trying to fix things. I simply rested in the new space I had claimed inside myself. The next 2 days passed in a strange calm rhythm. I went to work early, came home late, and answered Lauren's questions with fewer words. She tried her usual tactics, playful teasing, sudden affection, even a little guilt-tripping about how distant I seemed. None of it landed the way it used to. On the third morning, I received an email from the board. The promotion I had been working toward for 18 months had been approved. CEO of the new Northeast Regional Group, effective in 30 days. I read it twice, closed my laptop, and said nothing to her. Some news I was learning was better kept close until it could speak for itself. That same afternoon, my phone lit up with Richard's name, Lauren's father. Normally, I might have let it go to voicemail if I was busy, but something told me to answer. My great timing, Richard's voice boomed warmly. Put me on video, I want to tell Lauren the news together. I switched to FaceTime. Richard's tanned, excited face filled the screen. Lauren, come here, sweetheart. You're not going to believe this. She wandered in from the living room, still in weekend leggings, and an oversized sweater hair, in a messy bun. Dad, what's going on? She leaned over my shoulder, smiling. I stayed silent, calm. Richard could barely contain himself. I just got off the phone with the board chair. Your future son-in-law here has been officially appointed CEO of the Northeast Regional Group effective next month. They're announcing it publicly tomorrow. He turned his tablet to show the internal announcement with my professional headshot, Michael R. Ellis, Chief Executive Officer, Northeast Regional Group. Lauren froze. Her hand gripped the back of my chair. I watched her reflection in the screen, her smile faltering, eyes widening color draining from her face before rushing back in a flush of shock. Richard kept talking, oblivious. This means stock options, the new corner office, the works. I always knew you had it in you, Mike. Lauren, you picked a winner. She tried to recover, forcing a thin laugh. Wow, Dad. That's amazing. Her voice cracked slightly. I reached forward slowly and tapped the mute button. My microphone icon turned red. I said nothing. I simply sat there, letting her stare at the title under my name. The irony was almost poetic. 3 days after she joked about dropping me for someone richer, her own father was proudly presenting me as the ultimate catch on a video call she couldn't escape. Richard finally noticed the strange tension. Everything okay over there? Lauren recovered just enough to speak. Yeah, Dad. It's just a big surprise. We're really happy. She squeezed my shoulder a little too hard. I remained perfectly still, hands resting on the desk, breathing even until Richard wrapped up the call. The moment the screen went dark, Lauren spun toward me. What the hell was that? You muted yourself? Why didn't you say anything? I turned in my chair to face her. What was there to say? She stared at me, searching for the man who used to rush to fill awkward silences. She didn't find him. That was huge news, and you just sat there like a statue, she said, voice rising. My dad was so excited, and you made it weird. I stood up slowly. 3 days ago, you told a table full of people you'd drop me for someone richer if Ryan introduced you. Tonight, your father announced I'm the new CEO. I think the moment spoke for itself. For once, Lauren, the woman who always had a quick comeback, had nothing. I need some air, I said quietly, grabbing my keys. She followed me to the door. Mike, wait. It was just a stupid joke. You know I didn't mean it like that. I paused with my hand on the knob. You said it. In front of everyone. And you laughed. When they laughed. I stepped into the hallway. The quiet click of the latch carried more weight than any slammed door ever could. I didn't go far. Just up to the rooftop terrace of our building. The same city skyline that had witnessed the dinner now stretched out beneath a deepening evening sky. I leaned on the railing and let the cool breeze wash over me. For 2 years, I had carried the weight of being good enough for now. I had smiled through disrespect, disguised as jokes. I had supported her dreams while she treated mine as background noise. No more. When I returned to the apartment an hour later, Lauren was on the couch, eyes red. She looked up hopefully. Can we talk? I nodded. We can talk, but I'm not going back to the way things were. That night we talked in circles. She apologized, sort of. She called it banter, said I was overreacting, even tried tears. I listened without defending myself, without comforting her the way I once would have. When she finally went to bed, I stayed up a while longer in the dark living room, feeling the new shape of my life beginning to form. The official announcement dropped the next morning. My phone lit up with congratulatory messages. Lauren watched from across the kitchen island as I answered a call from my soon-to-be predecessor, responding with calm professional tone. When I hung up, she forced a bright smile. Guess I'm dating a CEO now. She held up her phone where she had already shared the LinkedIn post. I tagged you. Everyone's going crazy. I nodded. Thank you. No excitement. No rush to celebrate with her. Just quiet acknowledgement. The shift unsettled her more than any fight could have. Over the following week, her behavior began to fracture. One moment she was suddenly proud, posting old photos of us with captions like, "So proud of my man." The next moment, insecurity slipped out in sharp little comments. Don't let this go to your head, she said one evening while we cooked. You're still the same guy who couldn't figure out the espresso machine last month. She laughed, but it didn't reach her eyes. I stirred the sauce calmly. I know who I am. She hated that answer. At a small gathering with the same friends from Delphine, she interrupted me mid-sentence to correct a detail about my career that didn't need correcting. Later she joked, "Careful, everyone. Mike's a big shot now. He might leave us regular people behind." The laughter around the table felt nervous this time. People could sense the tension. In private, her tactics evolved. Some nights she tried sudden affection, kissing my neck, while I worked whispering that she had always believed in me. Other nights, the jabs came sharper. "You've been so quiet lately," she said one Saturday morning. "Is this what success looks like? Ignoring your girlfriend?" I closed my laptop and met her eyes. "I'm not ignoring you. I'm just not performing anymore." She blinked. Performing. Smiling through every comment that puts me down. Pretending it doesn't hurt. That version of me is gone, Lauren. Her face tightened. "So what the promotion makes you better than me? Now?" "No," I said evenly. "It just showed me what I was willing to accept before." The cracks widened. Lauren began mentioning her ex more often, with forced casualness. She suggested a romantic getaway like old times, but when I politely declined due to work, she sulked for days before switching to sharper comparisons. My ex would have made time, she said over dinner one night. He understood balance. I set my fork down. "Then perhaps you should call him." Her mouth opened in shock. The old Mike would have apologized for existing. The new Mike simply continued eating. Late one night, after drinks with friends, she came home flushed and confrontational. "You think you're so much better now, don't you, CEO Mike? Too good for the girlfriend who was there before all this." I closed my book and looked at her. I think I finally stopped believing I was worse. The words landed heavily. She cried. She raged. She accused me of letting success go to my head and abandoning us. I listened without defending myself. My silence had become my strongest response. I saw the pattern clearly now. Lauren needed me uncertain. She needed me grateful. She needed me smaller so she could feel chosen. My success had broken that balance, and instead of celebrating me, she was fighting desperately to restore the old order. I refused to return to it. One Tuesday afternoon, while she was at work, I signed the lease on a new apartment, a clean, modern place near the headquarters with a river view and no shared history. I began moving my essential things quietly during the day, closed documents, books, my favorite chair. Each trip felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. Lauren sensed the shift before she had proof. "You're hiding things from me," she accused one morning as I knotted my tie. "People don't just change like this overnight." "They do," I replied when they finally see clearly. She tried tears, seduction, and guilt. "After everything I've been through with you," I looked at her with genuine sadness. "After everything I've carried for both of us." The final week was the hardest. She alternated between cold silence and desperate affection. One night she cooked my favorite meal and talked about our future, as if nothing had changed. I thanked her politely, but didn't soften. That night, when she reached for me in bed, I gently moved her hand and turned away. "I can't do this anymore, Lauren." She cried herself to sleep. I lay awake with the heavy peace that comes from a necessary decision. The next morning I left early while she was still sleeping. I placed my keys on the kitchen counter beside a short note. Lauren, I wish you well. Take care of yourself. Mike, no anger, no accusations, just quiet closure. I closed the door behind me without looking back. The hallway lights felt brighter. The air felt lighter. For the first time in 2 years, I was walking toward a future that belonged fully to me. The first message from Lauren came at 9:47 a.m. Where are you? This is childish. I read it once, then set my phone aside. There was nothing left to explain. By evening, the messages multiplied. Anger, confusion, demands to talk like adults. I didn't reply to any of them. 2 days later, she showed up at my new building. The doorman called up, and I asked him to send her away politely. She left after 20 minutes. Her texts cycled between sharp and soft, but I stayed silent. 3 weeks after I moved out, she finally got through on a call I answered for closure. Her voice was raw. Mike, I didn't think you'd actually do it. You didn't even fight for us. I stood on my balcony watching the river flow. I did fight, for a long time. I fought to be seen, to be respected. You weren't listening? She cried real tears this time. That joke. It was stupid. I was showing off. I never meant it. You meant it enough to say it in front of everyone, I replied. And when the universe gave you the perfect mirror 3 days later, you still couldn't see me. There was a long silence. I miss you, she whispered. I miss who I thought we could be, I said honestly. But I don't miss who I had to become to stay with you. She begged. She promised change. I listened without wavering. When she ran out of words, I said gently, Take care of yourself, Lauren. I mean that. Then I ended the call. Months passed. Spring turned to summer. The new role settled into a satisfying rhythm. I ran along the river most mornings, reconnected with old friends, and even went on a few quiet dates. Life felt lighter. Lauren's messages grew infrequent, then stopped. I heard through mutual friends that she had started therapy and was dating again. I wished her well from a distance. Then came the industry gala in early fall. She spotted me across the elegant ballroom. I was speaking with colleagues when I felt her gaze. When I turned, our eyes met. She looked polished in a deep emerald dress, a tall, confident man at her side. She excused herself and walked over. Her date stayed back. So she said with a small, forced smile, Everything really worked out for you. It did, I replied evenly. I'm happy. Her eyes flicked to the woman I had brought, kind, intelligent, and completely unbothered by the moment. Lauren swallowed. I didn't think you'd actually leave like that, she said quietly. No fight. No explanation. Just gone. I considered her for a long moment. I said everything I needed to. The silence did the rest. She looked down at her drink. I'm sorry, Mike. For the joke. For everything. I accept your apology, I said. And I meant it. She gave a small sad smile and returned to her date. I watched her go without bitterness, only the quiet satisfaction of closure. Later that night, standing on my balcony with the city lights below, I thought about the long road from that humiliating dinner to this moment. Some people only understand your value when they lose the ability to diminish it. If you're reading this and you've ever smiled through disrespect, laughed at your own expense, or carried someone who refused to see your worth, know that you don't have to stay there. You are allowed to choose yourself. You are allowed to walk away with dignity. And sometimes the most powerful response isn't anger or revenge. It's the quiet decision to build a life so full that no one can ever make you feel replaceable again.